Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another Darren After the Credits. How's everyone doing today? Doing? I don't think I said that word
Hi!
right. Doing.
Hi!
It's Chainsaw for the first time
Hi!
on this show.
What?
Chainsaw, how's it going?
Okay. The first time on this
Different show.
show.
Different show. Yeah. Different. Chainsaw, how are you?
Alive.
Oh, that's good at least. It's better than the other.
Well,
Could be worse.
could
Darth,
be
how
Has
are
Been
you?
Hotel.
You could be a has-been hotel. That is very
Yeah.
true. Darth, welcome back again for the 19th time. How are you,
for having
Darth?
me. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Are you good?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you so much. We are at the finish line of two of our shows here today. Kind of crazy how they both kind of lined up perfectly for them both to end at the same time for the
Yeah.
rest of the month to just be bare of content outside of what, like Avatar. So
Yep.
but no, I'm excited to talk about the ends of all these shows, see what we thought about them, see how they wrapped up. Did they have a good ending? Did Percy Jackson have a good ending? Did Has-Been have a good ending? And as we wait for some of these shows to come back for second seasons. So yeah, let's just hop right in. Just get right to the hustle and bustle of it all. Percy Jackson, season 1, episode 8. What am I doing? There's people in the comments. We need to address them first. Liam in the house. Liam, how are you? Hope you're well, Liam. Hope you're having a good life up until this very point. Can you tell I'm a bit tired?
Yeah, I can tell. A good life.
Percy Jackson, season 1, episode 8. Currently, I guess, kind of the series, because we don't know if it's going to be getting a second season yet. I would assume so. I would assume we're getting a second season. I think Disney would be dumb if they didn't give the show a second season. It's one of the most, talked about shows I think their thing has ever had. I've not seen that, since the early days of Loki season 1 and stuff. I feel like a lot of their things haven't been talked about as much as Percy Jackson has. Chainsaw, let's start with you. I would just generally, because again, you haven't been on for the previous 7, we've talked about it. What was your kind of thoughts on just season 1 of Percy, just as a whole?
Really enjoyed it. Never read the books, haven't even seen the movies. I've heard mixed things about the movies.
Yeah.
I love what they did with the show.
Yeah.
I love the dynamic of the trio, and I think this was a great episode to end out the season 1 on. And I do believe we'll get a season 2. They've been working on season 2. It's just they haven't confirmed it yet and announced it. But they're working on season 2, writing, so that's good. And I think it's set up a lot of potential things they could do. Obviously without knowing where they're going to head next in terms of the books. They set up a good amount of stuff that we could lead into season 2 or potential things. And it's really unfortunate that Lance Reddick here as Zeus is not coming back, because he was so good in that 5-ish minutes he was in it. He was so good. And I love the fact that we got to see some things actually happen that we've been waiting for. Percy meeting his dad. I was questioning, are we going to have Mom back? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was a great way to end out in season 1.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very worried kind of going into this final episode. This is something that me and Darth have talked about every week. Was these Disney Plus shows, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. But the problem a lot of them have is they don't finish strong, or they start off pretty good. Okay, this is solid, and then it's the final episode really just blew blew the ball out. They didn't have time to finish it. And I would say, as someone who didn't like the 7th episode as much as a lot of other people, and I was a bit worried how they were going to wrap everything up. I thought they wrapped everything up very well. It was actually, this feels very well paced and very well put together. Again, someone at the end of the last episode was there's a lot we have to do still. There's a lot they have to get to, and they got to it all, I think, pretty well. Darth, would you agree with that? Would you say that they did all everything that they needed to do?
Massively so. And they took directions that the movie didn't, which I'm very, very grateful for. Something I've said in my stream is that I got wound up in the movie that Sally Jackson is there pressing all the switches in the lift to get to Olympus. Where's the logic in that? That makes 0 sense.
Yeah.
He wasn't even involved. It had Percy walking up like a boss. I'm here to return this. And then just the sound echoing out was awesome. I was I don't have an appointment, And then just the choice of the portrayal that Lance Reddick had was phenomenal, as Chainsaw said. And just the choice of him to, like with Sean Bean, it was a case of, oh, I've got the bolt. Right, I'll see you a lot later. Meeting's over. You know, this Zeus was still ready to go to war. He still wanted a fight. There was still no, oh, fine, I'm gonna just accept that I was made to look silly. You know, he's like, no, I'm gonna stand by my conviction, and I'm war is coming. You know, so it just showed that the myths are right. They are not the best people. You know, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, Lance, I think Lance being here, I'll be honest, I think that was my favorite thing with the whole show was his performance in this episode. He was there 5 minutes, and he was such a standout for me. I mean, Lance, I love him as an actor. I'm currently watching Fringe, as I've said these last couple weeks, and he's such a powerhouse on that show. Obviously, he's in the like John Wick movies, which he's always great in, and he like the way he acts like with his eyes, like there's that sequence when his eyes glow up as he's about to strike Percy down. This guy's terrible. I am terrified of this Zeus that we've met. Like, not every Zeus, I think, can bring that like gravitas to the way he plays the character, and it makes it all the more heartbreaking that we're not going to see, obviously, the actor play this role again because he unfortunately passed away as of recent. Do you guys think they're going to recast, or do you think they're just going to avoid Zeus? Because it'd be very hard to avoid Zeus for the rest of the show.
Yeah. I think like the two options that remain, so I don't think avoiding him is a choice. I think it's either going to be CGI or recasting, and recasting is the only option in my opinion, because I think the CGI would be disrespectful.
I 100% agree. I would not want like a like Mando Luke Skywalker situation. Like as much as I have enjoyed what they've done with that Luke thing, what sometimes Star Wars does, I think you are taking away such a disservice to the next person to come in and play a character. Like we've seen it so many times throughout like film and TV history where like an actor dies and that's so unfortunate and that's so sad, but then someone else steps in and that next person is so good. Like Zeus is such an important character to like the world of a character like Percy Jackson. So to rob that from someone else, and I doubt Lance would want to rob someone else of getting that like opportunity to play in this world. And Zeus, again, such a massive character, maybe not a huge element of this season, but if someone who hasn't read the books, who hasn't seen, I have seen the movies, but like who hasn't read the books, I hear he's a pretty massive part of the rest of the books and stuff like that. So
I imagine so. I think in season 2 we're going to be getting a lot of what we got in the movie, and then in like season 3 we're beginning getting his daughter. So that was but I think we're going to be getting Thalia in season 3, end of season 2. So I think he's going to have to play a big part. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And whoever plays him has to step up to the plate because Lance crushed him in 5 minutes. So it's a tall order, but I mean, I think they're going to do the right thing because I think pushing him out and not including him makes no sense, especially how they set him up and how important he is.
Yeah.
Obviously, and they can make it to work because Zeus can change his form. They can just explain. They could just explain just a quick little nod. Hey,
he looks a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, or like, hey, he changed his look for some reason. Like they could just have a quick line to explain it. And then there you go.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I've loved all the like gods and their castings in the show. Like, I feel like each one that we've seen has been so powerful watching them like on the screen. And I remember like when the casting was going around, they were like Lin-Manuel Miranda as Hermes. This is a stupid casting and all these different things. I think they've all been really, really good. Like I haven't seen one that I'm like, this doesn't work. And again, I haven't read the books. I don't know what they are in the books. And book readers I think are like a whole other breed of people. Yeah. And I get it. Like I was recently, I keep mentioning this, but like I've been reading the like Hunger Games books, and as I'm reading, it's like they took this and this and this and this out. But like you also have to think how hard it is to adapt a book into a movie, but like more or less a TV show. Like like a TV show is hard, but like they did those into films, 2 hours out of like an 8-hour, 10-hour story. Like that's incredibly hard. And I don't think it's never an easy task to like bring a book into a movie or a TV show. And I do think, again, someone who hasn't read the books, I don't know what these what this story was originally. I just know what the movie did. I think they did a solid job, even though maybe there's some pieces of it. Maybe they can improve this in season 2, or improve this in season 2, or any of that kind of stuff.
Really? I'm curious which bit you're referring to. Do you mean in the final episode or the whole series?
I think just like as a show, there's some things that, again, like this isn't bad. Like, we know bad TV. We saw The Flash season 9 this last year. Like, it's not, none of it was
peak 10 out of 10. You're talking about.
I've said this on, I think I've said this on here. I've said this on the pipeline. I don't know if I can watch bad TV again. Like, the Arrowverse has set such a low bar for me that, like, I don't know if I could be like, this is unwatchable television ever again, because we put up with so much with those shows.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. But
so many low lows.
I have high hopes because, like, as
Yeah.
someone who did not know the source material, I had a great time with this show.
Sure.
So for me, I have high hopes they're going to figure out. Plus, they have the creator of the series anyways on board, and that's a big plus because apparently they made some small shifts because of just like time and just in general the actors, so they had to make some shifts and changes, but it worked. Like, at least for me, like having no idea, and the most majority of the book readers loved what they did with this show, so that means they did it right, or at least they're treating the source material as best as they could.
Yeah.
So that's what matters to me.
Cody in the chat said, as a book reader, perfect timing actually. As a book reader, they went above and beyond. Yeah, that makes me very happy, and I was hoping, especially after the movie did so many people wrong and people were so mad. And I watched those movies as a kid. I enjoyed the movies as movies, but as like hearing from like book readers is like, oh no, this is the worst thing that's ever existed ever. And it's like, okay, yeah, I would definitely believe that. What did you guys think of the fight at the beginning of the episode? Because I did think that was one of the strongest starts to like an episode, with like Ares and Percy, just that entire sequence. What was everyone's kind of thoughts on that?
Awesome.
I love it because aside from the fact that there were great shots in there, like when Luke and Percy are training, and then Percy drawing his sword and stuff, and then that mirroring Luke having his sword out and then it mirroring. I watched the movies and I didn't like the final fight. Right, it had a great moment where Percy just popped a whole bunch of water tanks on the top of the roofs of I think New York, I think it was, and then had this whole water scene, and like, yeah, that looked good for a second, but the majority of the fight was Luke chasing Percy around on those winged shoes. They both had a pair. It was terrible, right? So I was expecting a similar sort of scene this week where I was confused about the shoes, obviously, because they got sucked into Tartarus last week.
Yeah.
But I was expecting a similar sort of fight. I'm glad that got mostly taken away, that it was all about the conflict of the characters more than the spectacle. The spectacle we got out of the way early with Ares, and I love that because again, it made sense. You know what I mean? And it was really, really good. And then we got down to the emotion of everything at the end and the consequence, and I love that.
I would agree. And like Luke was a character that was very curious how they're going to kind of wrap up at the end, because it was like we haven't seen really a lot of this character at all. Yeah. Like I feel like if you knew what was going to happen, you're like kind of waiting for that drop. Like you're waiting for that moment to happen. At Chainsaw, as a person who hasn't read the movies or the books, like did you see
read the movies
at all? Just captions. You have it all blacked out. Just the captions. But who hasn't I was saying it again. Whoever watched the movie and read the books, like
that's good.
Did you know anything about Luke, or did you like have any thought like at all with him?
No, I was like, why are we seeing Luke at the season finale here? We haven't seen him in episodes. It makes sense now. I kind of wish there was a way they could have incorporated him more in the show so that the reveal made more of an impact. It still was impactful. I'm like, oh, because like you weren't meant to take the shoe. Like I didn't expect Grover to take the shoes. It's like, okay, it all started to make sense, but I wish he was more involved so that it was more of a punch. But in terms of the fight, I think like the best part about the show is that there is some spectacle for sure. You got to see Cerberus in episode 7.
You got
but it's really more about the characters. It's not so much about, ooh, how over the top can we make the visuals and all that. The Ares fight was good though, because it was straight to the point.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, if Percy did not have his water abilities to show off that I'm like dad,
Yeah.
he would have died.
Yeah.
Ares would have wiped the floor with him. So that was a spectacle moment, but it's really more so about the characters and the relationships and the fact that Percy was just trying to get his mom back. That was his goal. And the fact is, too, they teased up Kronos, which was an awesome little scene. But the spectacle, but it's more so about the dynamic of the characters and the drama. Yeah. That's what I appreciate. Because this show could be a heavy spectacle show, which at times it is, but from the foundation, it's Percy and Grover and Annabeth.
I would agree. And, I would assume, with a show, like, because, I have heard people being very worried about what they do when you get to book 4 and 5. I don't know what happens in those books, but then being like, how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this, all the CGI stuff, and it's going to be super expensive. And I think they've been very smart with maybe a show that doesn't have, like a Marvel budget or doesn't have like a, Star Wars budget, maybe saving some of these like fight sequences. And, we talked a lot about this with shows like Superman Lois and Stargirl, where like Stargirl did not have a big budget. So what did they do? They went 5 episodes without a fight scene and then just gave us one of the greatest fights that the CW has ever had.
Oh, in the school, the school nonstop.
Yeah, like they didn't have very many fight scenes, but when they did, you knew they were going to be phenomenal fight scenes.
Choreographed really well.
Yes.
100%. Yeah. So, and I think they took a little bit of that. It was like, there's going to be a lot of talking, a lot of traveling, and a lot of this fight stuff. And there's been a lot of people like being like, the fights aren't good enough, or they shouldn't, there should be more. And then people were like, but that's not what the show's about. It's not about fighting. It's not about these characters always going out and doing these massive things. It's about these characters. And me and Darla have talked about this every week. I do think that's the highlight of the show, is that those 3 main cast members just bouncing off of work with each other. They're all so talented. Especially our main Logan, I think his name is. He's going to go on to do so many great things. Like, I can already tell he's going to play so many iconic characters and be the absolute heart stopper that he is. And I guess thanks to Ryan Reynolds to kind of getting that jet started. But it's very interesting to watch, to see how that all goes.
But even like you said, like even the fact that how journey driven the show is, right? And the story is supposed to be, even in the movies, even how they get around is different, right? Because the show makes it age appropriate, and then in the movies they're getting around driving themselves most of the time.
Yeah,
because they're older, apparently, in the movies. So,
yeah. I think they're supposed to be teenagers, but like they're like 30. Like the actors are like 30, so it's so weird.
Walker, who plays Percy, he was saying how when he auditioned, he had just turned 13, and he thought he was too old to play Percy when they auditioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a massive book fan.
Yeah.
So
you can tell.
When he's reading the scripts, he's like, he knows what's right.
Yeah.
So
I say it every week. I'm hoping for Darren Shan for him to jump on this hype train. He had this. He's a teenage author as well. So with a phenomenal group of, he has like different series of books, and like there's like 2 of them that I've read that are amazing, that would transfer so well on screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna be very curious, because I think it's gonna be very funny. Just like in between from filming and then since it's come out, like Walker's voice is like so deep now. So I think it's gonna be very funny to see the like Stranger Things effect of it all. Like by season 5, they're all in their like 30s and they're all grown up, and it's like you have to pretend like these guys are still teenagers.
That might be the adaptation of it, right? So that we make it seem more time has passed within the character's narrative.
Sure.
So that it would make logical sense. Oh, that's why they look older, because the time has passed, versus the books where you can keep them whatever age you want.
Yeah, sure, 100%.
Yeah.
Or just do it like the movies did and just cast for like 30-year-olds, and then they don't grow up.
They look the same
because they're done growing and they're done evolving as people. Thoughts on everything, like with his mom, kind of like bringing the mom back into things, and how they kind of set up season 2, or probably not even season 2, because it seems like Kronos is the the big bad of the whole thing. It seems like he's kind of like the.
I guess.
I haven't read the books. That's just kind of
Yeah.
what I'm hearing. He's like our Thawne or like our Lex Luthor to the larger franchise.
So someone even referenced like was that a Harrison Wells as Kronos? And I'm like, no, that wasn't. I don't think that was Tom Cavanaugh.
No.
I would geek out if Tom Cavanaugh just.
I don't know whoever the voice was. It sounded familiar,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was Tom Cavanaugh. But
It was Mayberry.
the fake out was definitely surprising in terms of the mom. But the one thing is, I wish they didn't jump ahead to like weeks after they've reunited when he was the nightmare.
I was going to say the converse, that I think that was a very brave choice because they didn't want to double down straight after the father, right? So we've already because in the movie, the emotional scene with the father was blunt. It wasn't. Percy was still having something to prove. He wanted to kind of hurt his father, so he was like, yeah, I didn't do the bolt for you, I did it for mom, and then tries to walk off like, oh, I don't even care that you're here, right? In the show, Percy was stood there like, yes, sir. Like he needed that moment, right? And it was built up from episode 3, 4, or 5, where he was fighting in the water. He just fought Chiron, the Chimera, right? And he was struggling in the water, and then the mermaid jellyfish is saying, stop fighting, it's okay, your dad wishes he was here, he couldn't, he's so proud of you. Wait, what? Boom. Then he's like, oh wow, so he hasn't been ignoring me. Like, then the doors start opening, right? So all through that journey, he starts thinking more about the possibility of seeing his father, and then instead of just reacting hurt, like, oh, my dad hasn't been around, I've got some things to say to him. It's, oh, something's been keeping us apart. Now I have to take that hurt away. How do I feel? Yeah. And then by the end of it, he was ready for that. And then when they had that talk and you could see how much it meant to both of them, you did not get that in the movie. So instead of doubling down and then just going for stabbing us in the heart and then just wrenching it all around, they went, let's just, he's getting his mum back and they get on great. So
yeah,
I think that was a good choice.
It's fair. It's a fair point. I just kind of wish the fake out wasn't there, or they would have found a different way to do the whole Kronos is actually still haunting him. Because I wanted that proper. And then people are saying, well, that was the reunion, but this is him having a nightmare of the reunion. So you're seeing. So and if that's the case, they should have had a line to express. I saw us reuniting and Kronos showed up. Like I saw us when we met again. That would have made it better for me. Like I know for a fact this is how they reunited, and Kronos is messing with him, picturing it again, and then Kronos shows up.
Sure. But
I get your point, because literally we've been waiting for this whole build up with Dad, and he asks us specifically, "Do you dream about Mom?"
Yeah.
And I think that was an amazing moment. So I get your point, because we already know. I mean, I didn't know for sure she was coming back, but I kind of figured. But I also would not have been surprised if we don't bring Mom back. Because maybe the whole journey is for Percy to let her go, because maybe there's no way he can get her back because Hades won't allow it or whatever, Yeah.
So the thing is one, I watched the movie, so I knew the mum come back. Two, the show said that gods have rules that they have to apply by, right? A deal was struck. So his mum was coming back. There was no way around that. The only way to get around that was have a demigod intervene.
Which could have happened. Like I said, like there's
which could have been like either kidnap or death.
Yeah, and so plus they make a point to say don't trust gods. You can't trust these people, like they're horrible people. So so I don't have any trust in anybody.
No.
So, yeah.
As well, that one of the I think Taj said one of the departures from the book is that they've given Sally more to do in the series, which I think is a phenomenal choice.
Who's Sally?
The mother.
Okay, I was confused. Like,
yeah,
is that the girl who hates Percy for no reason?
No, that's Percy.
At camp.
Yeah.
Because in the movie, again, I'm not sure about the books. She has very, very, very little to do, and the chemistry between, I think Logan Lerman is his name or something. I don't know who it is. Like the guy that plays Percy Jackson in the movies.
Logan Walker or something.
I don't know something.
Logan Lerman, I think, or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
Right, their chemistry, as fine actors as they are, did not buy it whatsoever. There was no familial
Oh, the original guy. Yeah.
whatsoever. So I think that the movie didn't suffer too much for not having those moments with them.
Yeah.
But the show has definitely been made stronger for it.
I agree. I think, especially, I think it was what was it last week where they were really doing a lot with her, and there's that scene. There's that scene with like him in the car. It's like, what? Like, Mom, why are you getting rid of me? I thought you loved me. Don't do this to me. And it's like,
brutal.
Stop. And it also helps that like little actor is so good. I don't know where they found this kid that looks exactly like the older version of the kid that they got. That casting director like killed it. Like, he was so good. But no, yeah, I 100% agree. And I think everything that they gave Sally was also just like some of my favorite stuff from like the show up until this point.
Her scene with Poseidon was amazing.
It was good. Yeah,
it was so good.
So good. See, even from that, there was still a little doubt of me because I was tainted from the movie, that I was unsure how their meeting would go, and oh my god, I was just blown away by it. Honestly, as much as I was with Zeus, because Zeus's interaction, Poseidon with Sally, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Poseidon with Percy, outstanding, and Poseidon with Zeus.
Such a powerhouse. Like, just two powerhouse actors. Yeah.
It was. And as well, in the movies, I keep coming back to it, there wasn't even like, oh, I'll surrender or anything. It's just Poseidon was stood there with sheepish looks on his face as Zeus took the bolt back and said, right, let's just wrap up and get out of here.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, the whole time I was like, is Poseidon just not trying to appear weak? But then the way that he intercepted his hand and then said, I surrender.
Yeah.
And then what? And then he says, I surrender again. But you could see that he really didn't want to either. Like, it was, it ate him a little bit. So I think that the portrayal and the myths of the three aren't as entirely off as everyone would imagine. So
yeah, I agree. Just like there was just like a very just like hype moment, just having those two in like the same room, and him being like, no, don't do this. Like, this is what my son is fighting for, and for the first time, I am going to be on his side, and I'm going to do what I can to protect him and his life. And again, like, who knows what would have happened if he didn't come in? Like, he probably would have died. And again,
also,
like,
can we say that he saved him while wearing beachwear? The man keeps rocking up.
Yeah, flip flops.
It works.
Yeah,
it was such a good portrayal of Poseidon, honestly, and that's very, very difficult, I think, of a relationship to do. So it's not even like too much against the movies to say that they didn't land it right, because it is difficult. But these guys, to say they nailed it is just an understatement, because the emotion that was in that scene, and then just the way that he has to drop that pearl, because he can't just like go, right, okay. He literally's like, like he has to just like let his hand drop because he can't physically drop it himself. Like,
sure,
so good.
Thoughts on the post-credit scene with the step buff?
He deserved it. That's all I have to say. He deserved it.
I gotta say, incredibly careless of them to leave it on the doorstep.
Yeah.
The gods Hermes knew what it was, knew that there are like parcel thieves, right? Because that's his whole thing. Like, he knows he's the god of thieves and he's the god of parcels, so he knows all about parcel thieves.
Yeah.
And there he is, leaving it on the doorstep for any Tom, Dick, and Harry to come and take away and then just get taken.
I guess they just don't care. Just like, they can have this, it's fine. I heard a lot of people say, like, I heard like some creators talk about like, oh, Sally put it there just because she knew that he would look at it and stone him. And I was just like, I don't know. I don't think she's a murderer. Like, I don't know if she would go that far to purposely kill him. It did make me happy, though, to know that like she had enough of his ass to finally leave him. I don't even know how they got together in like the first place. I don't know how she put up with him. but he's gone. I wonder what you do with his body after that. Like, do you just put it inside the front yard?
Apparently, in the books, Liam said that she sells it as art.
Oh,
So she gets like a nice little windfall for that.
sure.
And in
I
the
hope he's
movie,
not, like, I just
Sorry,
hope
go
he's not like conscious in there, just like just like watching everything go around him.
well, that would be horrific because in Auntie M's Emporium, there were people from all different ages.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, sure.
So there were people that were there for a long time that would just be conscious in stone. Just
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't think like she says, "Oh, I'm lonely." I don't think she goes around talking to him.
Yeah.
But quickly before we move on from Gabe, like in the movies, it says that his stink was used to cover Percy's half demigod blood. So in the show, that wasn't addressed.
Okay.
Like there's a reason that they're there, putting up with his nonsense, as opposed to Sally just choosing to hide away in an abusive relationship.
Sure. All right, let's look at some of these comments really quick. Cody said in the book Annabeth isn't there. She doesn't actually find out until the last Olympian. So I'm going to assume about Luke, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they're so close that she, even if she deduces it in any point in her brain, she refutes it and doesn't believe it until she sees it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think that is such a good scene for like Luke as well, to like sympathize him as a character, because he was just fine fighting Percy, but once he sees him or her, I'm sorry, it's like, well, I can't do this. Like, we are too close. I couldn't even bear the thought of fighting her. And maybe hurting her. So,
see, that's something else as well. Like they had a chance to double down on what you're talking about, right? Like not specifically with the whole Annabeth, Dahlia, and Grover square triangle, but with his mum, right? Because it was heavily like the whole motivation was, they're bad parents, right? In the movie, and that's what it ended up doubling down on in the show.
Yeah.
What was set up was that his mum was a seer, and she saw things like through the mist and potentially things in the future that made her go quote unquote insane, right? And damaged her, and she died, right? So to make him more of a sympathetic character, he could have gone on like a whole revenge thing for his mum, but it doubled down on it was just more about the absence of his father, which I think suffered a little bit.
Yeah, I'm curious. I mean, I'm going to assume we see Luke again at some point. Again, as someone who hasn't read the books
He was
or
in
whatever. Okay, cool. So I'm curious what we do with him. Again, we probably have 4 more seasons left of the show. We have spin-offs and stuff that they do.
So to set up next season, right?
Okay.
The movie was called The Sea of Monsters, and it's about the search for the Golden Fleece, because Luke has poisoned Thalia's tree.
Sure.
So the tree is dying, as is the barrier around it, which I have a real question as to how the camp survived before that. Was it like the Hunger Games on there? Who knows? So the tree's dying, and then they're looking for a whole bunch of things that could save it. Annabeth finds the Golden Fleece, shows it to Mr. D with Grover. All of the satyrs that have ever gone looking for it, who are naturally drawn to it, have died, because there is a Cyclops called Polyphemus who is on the island where I think Athena or somebody, Aphrodite, tried to build a theme park where he killed everybody. So there's the Golden Fleece. And then Luke also needs it to bring Kronos back to life. So that's basically what season 2 is going to be, because Grover, with his searcher's license for Pan, is already said he's going into the sea.
Yeah.
And then with Luke returning to camp next season to get more recruits, because he's going to have other demigods for his cause, namely a lot of the kids from the House of Ares and things like that.
Yeah.
He's going to try to recruit Percy again. That's not going to go well. At the same time, he's going to poison the tree. And a Colchis bull in the movies attacks the camp. We don't know what it's going to be, what the show chooses, because from the movie to the show, they pick different monsters. The only thing that stayed the same was Electo at the start and the Minotaur. After that, in the movie, we got a Hydra. So who knows, you know? And then so basically, in the movie, Kronos, as we all know, gets chopped up into a million pieces. And then he's put into a casket in Tartarus. But in the movie, he's actually the casket, right? So then that bursts apart, and then he becomes like this big monster dude made out of like loads of little pieces that keep breaking apart and reforming. So I am phenomenally glad that the direction they chose for Kronos with the whole guy with the stick.
Yeah.
Because like that could be threatening in a million different ways than just one big giant man.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like
I'll piece it together later. I
feel like I just heard a bunch of spoilers, so that kind of bums me out a lot. So if that's what the season 2 is going to be, I pretty much now you told me what it is, so that's kind of like, oh, okay. So
yeah, I was thinking, I was like, I don't know if he should be here. And
yeah, I'm like, this is Flash Freak all over again for Ben.
No, what's in the second movie? It's not exactly like.
Well, he's like, in the second movie, though.
Same as me saying, "Oh, here's the spoilers for Wizard of Oz."
But he hasn't seen it.
I haven't seen it. I don't know the books, and so I feel like I pretty much know roughly what they're going to do in the show now. So,
you're welcome.
No, you just ruined it. Thanks, appreciate it.
All right, let's move on to our next show. Has Been Hotel, season 2, or not season 2, season 1. We wrapped up the first season. Now, this whole show has been a real shock to me.
Yeah.
No one else got, like, I feel like this really came out of nowhere. For some people, they've been waiting a very long time for this.
For it to get such a fan reception, and we've had nothing of those whole 4 years. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, no. I again, I haven't been here the entire time. I'm very new to this kind of fandom and, into this world. But it did feel like there's been such a fire that has started, there has caught on so fast. Again, so many people hadn't even heard of the show. And now it's like one of the most talked about shows currently. And everyone's talking about it. Everyone's talking about the music. And Chainsaw, Did you know anything about this show or this world going into this first season?
No, I had heard about the pilot and Hell of a Boss on YouTube. And I actually reacted to the pilot the day the first 4 episodes dropped on Amazon Prime. Because I'm like, I'll check this out. And honestly, at first, I was like, oh, they replaced the voice cast and they changed the animation? Because I love the look of the show as it is, but I get it's different. It's crowdfunded at the time. The pilot was. It seemed like the voice cast doesn't have any ill will to the people who now do the show. But I really enjoyed like the pilot and how it set up everything. And how there is some tie-in to the show from the pilot, but like you can watch the show without the pilot, I think. But I really enjoyed the journey, and I don't think they should have put out the first 4 episodes. I think they should have done the first 2, and then because I feel like it was just too much. Because like people are, now the show's over after 3 weeks. Yeah, they shouldn't have done 4
weeks.
I think that would have been better. I think the 2 was smart because there are shorter episodes.
Yeah.
So give them more. But I love the music. I love the characters. And Alistair here, this little conniving little heathen. I love the fact there's so much mystery surrounding him because we didn't like. I've been saying since the pilot, this dude is not good news, and he's not, because literally he made a deal with Charlie. We don't know what that deal was. Like, we know but what exactly is he wanting? And we're assuming whose leash he's on. Because we know that, Husk is under him, but who is Alistair under? And people are theorizing, at first it was Lilith, and now they're saying it's Eve. Because we've not seen Eve. We've seen Adam, we've not seen Eve, and Lilith.
I didn't even think about that. That's a really interesting theory.
I think it's an interesting theory because people are saying, where's Eve at?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What said about your second wife liked it as well.
Yeah. I thought about like God the other day. I was like, what if it's God owns him? How crazy would that be?
I mean, with this show and Crazy Reveal, see, I didn't know it was a rumor or a theory for a while that since the pilot that Vaggie is a fallen angel. I didn't know that, but apparently that's a major theory that has been around for years, and I had no clue. Yeah. That's why I love the fact that I didn't know that, because when that was revealed, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. I'm like, oh yeah, this is just confirming a theory. Like, oh, never mind. Because I mean, she's been carrying that spear, and we were like, well, that's the spoiler. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I wasn't paying attention that well, because the show is very good at hiding stuff in plain sight.
Yeah,
I didn't put it together.
It makes a lot of sense though, because they had 4 years to theorize and just kind of talk about that. A 30-minute pilot. Like, there's so many things you're going to be breaking down.
Yeah, people were probably dissecting it. Yeah, so it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Back to what Chainsaw was saying. I really hope that a lot of what Alistair is Enigma, because I think the early years, like obviously we know he's a serial killer and stuff, but I think that he should be like the Joker in the early years, in that like there should be very, very little known about what made him who he is. I would love to know who owns his contract, but I think a lot of what makes his character who he is the mystery around him. And I think if you keep that, then it makes him more rich.
Yeah. I was very, one of like the biggest things that happened in the episode, and like we haven't even like gone into what happened in these final two. But one thing that really shocked me was that Alistair lost against Adam. Like, that was such a major moment. And at first I was like, Alistair would totally beat Adam. Like, Adam's out of his league. But the more I thought about it, like, he is like one of the first angels ever, right? Or the souls that get turned into an angel. I mean, he's had all this time and all this practice, so it does make sense. But I do think when you're like writing a character like this, it is very smart to make him not so powerful, because going into that final episode, I was like, this guy can just do anything. Like, he's so unbelievably powerful. He's almost like a god, like, in himself. He could make all these commercials. He could do these things. He has all these people under him, and he seems so overly powerful. So I actually do think it was very smart to humble him a little bit and show he still has some growth to like do. Like, he's under someone's thumb still. He's on a leash still. He's maybe not the most powerful character that we have in heaven, or hell and heaven. Like, there's people still above him, and I think that's going to make his journey to do whatever he's trying to do to get free, to, I don't know, like, own hell. Like, I don't know what he's ultimately going for, but I think it's going to make that journey so much more fascinating because I have a feeling he's going to be like the final villain of the show. Like, I think that's what that feels like. Like, after Lilith and maybe Eve and all these villains that we go through, I think he's going to be the final big boss of it all. I really do think so.
That's a fair point, because I mean, they've been setting him up to be this big mystery.
Yeah,
and they dropped that little subtle hint in episode 5, I think, with Husk. I think it was 5, about tough talk for also being on a leash as well.
Yeah,
and then he openly admits it in the final song, that he's under someone's leash. But we assumed it was Lilith, but I don't think so. Yeah. Lilith made a deal, it seems, with that one angel that was under Adam.
But when? Yeah. And how long has the extermination been happening? Which is also like relevant to the conversation.
Well, where do we think she's at the end? Because I've heard 2 different theories of where she is at the end of the show. I've heard, like, I assumed it was heaven. Like, she made a deal to go to heaven. But there's some people who's like, well, no, she actually made a deal to go back to Earth, and she's on Earth currently. I was like, oh, that's a fascinating theory.
Because that's the one thing we haven't really discussed is Earth. It's always been heaven and hell.
See, the thing with that is because, sorry to interrupt, right, is because that hell of a boss is in universe, right? It's not just the same, it's hell. It's actually the same universe, and they have magic and stuff to go topside. So I don't think that's the case because there are people and things in hell capable of doing that already.
Sure.
So I do think she's in heaven.
Sure. I'll be very curious. Let me back up a little bit because I do kind of want to talk about like one of the major twists that kind of happened at the end of the episode, and obviously Serpentius, he makes the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
I was very conflicted when that first happened because we had talked about this a lot last week. We're like, okay, the like creators said that someone was going to die, and we went through the list of all the characters and who we thought it could be. And I had said I thought he was the most likely to die because he did feel like the most not out of place, but like he did feel like the one that was like, yeah, you could probably get rid of him, and the show doesn't change too much.
And I was there. I was there giving arguments for everybody else. I was like, Serpentius has reason to stay.
Yeah.
And then I was there, and I was like, oh my god. I reacted so hard to it. Honestly, I was screaming and howling at the TV. I was like, oh my god, he was right.
Yeah.
He was right.
And at first I was kind of upset because they kind of use it as like a joke, like in the moment. Like he sacrifices himself and it just takes out like 5 angels and Adam's still there. It's like, well, damn, that's the end of his life. But it is shown at the end of the episode, he didn't just die, he went to heaven. And Charlie's plan worked, and angels can be, or I guess, you know, people in hell can be saved and they can go up there. But like then I wonder, like, what is even death at this point? Like, you can die a second time and then still go up to heaven. Does that mean like
essentially, obviously Serpentius is the first to do so, right? So what? Yeah, I was talking to Liam's wife and everything about it. Like, what does that mean for those people that died in the extermination? Like, is there a hell to hell?
Yeah.
And where is Adam gone now? Is he going to go to hell, or is he going to go to where angels and people that have divine ordainment, or as he said, go when they die?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you would think that like he would just go to hell, just like regular hell, that he's just stuck there now, right? Like that's what I would.
I guess, yeah.
That's what I would have assumed, which would be actually very fascinating to watch.
I think if they have him in hell in season 2, that's a game changer. To have him now stuck there as a demon,
yeah, that would be insanely interesting to watch. Someone that was so against hell and so pro, like not having this happen. Now he's stuck in that same place, and now he's trying to go back to heaven. Like it like kind of feels like this.
Would you start him out with having a same sort of power set, so he's like immediately a threat, or that he starts at the bottom like everybody else, and that he has to work his way up to be a threat?
I would say he's at the very bottom if we go that route. He's just on par with everyone else.
That's cool. I like that.
And yeah, it'd be very interesting. It kind of feels like this giant game of like ping pong, though. It's like, oh, you die, you're down here. Oh, you're back up, you go up there. Like, it's just this giant game of ping pong.
Because Liam in the chat says otherwise it's pointless purging hell, because I feel like they don't go anywhere. I feel like in the circumstances of Serpentius, like you're saying, you were theorizing he's going to die. It makes sense that he sacrificed himself because he's the character that had the most redemption
growth. Yeah.
And so now the question is, what exactly? Because episode 6, the whole point was, okay, here's the list of things you have to do to get to heaven. But yet, how come angel dust is not there? How come other demons that maybe have done this throughout time and hell have not showed up in heaven? How come? So what exactly was it? And the fact is, too, how is this going to change the perception of those angels that are there? And, how is that going to work? But I think it's more tricky than just, it's one particular thing and all the demons have to do it once and they're done. Like he literally did so much growth as a character, sacrificed himself to try to save everybody else. It's much more than just one simple thing, because then everybody could do it.
And that's the thing. I don't think they know what that thing is. Like, no. I don't think anyone on the show really knows what the heck they're doing. It seems like God, if there, I mean, we don't even know if there is a God. Like they haven't even. I don't think they've even mentioned God, right?
Yeah, I think it has to be at this point because Emma and Sarah, sorry, are like the top two people, like the top two ranking angels. And if they were surprised by it, like God has to be in the next season, right?
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's like a supernatural type thing, or even like a Lucifer type thing, where like God is gone, like he abandoned them. He's like, screw this shit, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go live on Earth or something. Something silly, and that's why no one knows what they're doing because he's gone. Like there's no one above Seraph, right? Like maybe she's the highest, and she's just trying her best, and she doesn't know what to do, and that's why they've been sending them to hell to kill him because she's like, I guess this is what we have to do. God's gone. I don't know.
What would even an overpopulation of hell mean for hell, for Earth, or even heaven? Like they didn't get into that either. Like because the whole point that was like the poster reason for the extermination was overpopulation in hell, right?
Or
one of the real reasons it was for Adam to get his jollies, right? So, like, is it one or the other? Is it both?
But then I would also argue, like, if we send everyone up to heaven, wouldn't there be overpopulation there too? Like, wouldn't that become an issue? Or in heaven, is that just not, it just grows until you don't need it no more or something? Like, I don't know how that works. Thoughts on just kind of like the final, just like fight of like everyone, because episode 8 was purely absolute chaos. It was really almost like 20 minutes of just characters fighting, characters coming in, characters dying, characters sacrificing. It was a huge, just epic battle. It like really reminded me, like in a good way, because I wasn't mad about it or anything, but it did remind me of like a Marvel movie where like the last 30 minutes is just a giant kind of fight. Did we have any kind of thoughts on how we ended it?
It was all build up.
Yeah.
Like we were all building up to this moment with all the talk about other extermination. We saw bits and pieces of how Vaggie was there, how she ended up being in hell. Yeah. It made sense because literally they ended episode 1 with them had the exterminations moved up or whatever. So this was all building up to this point. And I think they did a pretty good job of handling it. Because they could have easily held it for season 2 and had more build up through season 1 and 2. Yeah. But I feel like you had to do it now because what's going to hold us over for season 2? How long is that going to take? How do you end season 1 if there's no final fight? Lucifer doesn't come back, all this stuff, and Serpentius getting to heaven. Like, what can you do to hold us over? And I don't think there's anything they could have done if they would not have gotten to this point. So I think they made the right call. People are saying they were rushing it, but they've had so many years to prepare for this.
I mean, I definitely think it could have used a couple more episodes just to breathe out a little bit, because it is, again, it does feel kind of rushed, and I think it pacing wise maybe it could have been better, but like I think for only having 8 episodes, each episode being 20 minutes each, like 8 episodes for a normal show, short as it, but like let's cut each episode in half, and that's all you have. So I think with that being said, they did a phenomenal job with writing these characters and building out a story with just a couple hours of story there. Like, if you look at it, so 3-4 hours of actual whatever. Like, it's a very short show. You could binge it in like 3 hours. Like, it's insane. But like, I think they really did their best. I hope in maybe season 2 we get like 10 episodes. That'd be great. A great just couple more.
Or longer episodes.
A long 30-minute.
Yeah.
30-minute.
I don't know what, but I feel like bigger fights are coming. So if everyone to say that this fight was rushed, like in like story wise, they followed the red herring that was Adam.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's the front man for all of the nonsense while everything else is working behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So there's a bigger, badder threat that's coming, of which a bigger, badder fight will take place. So like everyone should just be excited for what's coming. You know what I mean? Not sitting there going, I
mean, I don't think the fight is what was rushed. Just kind of like the season as a whole was a bit have used. I think
how they released it though, which again, I Chainsaw disagrees, but I think was a smart choice, because I think if they left it at like say 1 or 2, then how they came out of the gate, if they didn't stick with that each week, then they would have been judged on those first couple of weeks with how like raunchy and in your face it was.
Yeah.
So I think
that is kind of a
war. It showed the redemption arc that they were going for. So it showed the whole tone of the show by those 4 episodes. So I think it was smart to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of a fair point, especially like with, I mean, episode 4. Really, like, I liked those first 3, and I was like, okay, this is a good show. And episode 4 is like, this is my favorite thing ever. This is so deep, like such a deep storyline that they've chosen. Thoughts about Lucy kind of coming in like last minute. Like, I think that was some of my favorite stuff of the whole episode. Just kind of.
I can't believe that's Win. I cannot believe that is Win. Oh my god! Wow. If he, oh my god, like if he come in with that big boy voice talking to Supergirl, he might have got somewhere. I mean, Jesus Christ. Oh my god, he crushed it. He was so good. I cannot believe that's the same guy. It's nuts. He did such a good job, and his singing was fun. I keep saying phenomenal. It was great. It was amazing.
Yeah, some really good fights here. Like Charlie, being on this like brink of losing, but like also her kind of coming in and like entering some of her like father's heritage a little bit, and like she's very sweet and kind, but she's also the princess of hell, and she showed that this episode.
I love the fact that we don't see much of that. The fact that she's very reserved and happy-go-lucky and trying to help her fellow demons. I love the fact we don't really see this angry side of her much, but when we do, it's effective. Because I feel like if we saw it all the time, like Alistair's constant like terror and shit and being who he is, I think it would be less effective if she was like that all the time. I like the fact that she's very outgoing and Vaggy's trying to follow in her footsteps in her own way. I love the fact that Charlie's so upbeat. It really adds a dynamic because all the characters are unique in this show.
They really are. They're all very, very different.
Even just she's very much your father's daughter.
No,
like she looks the same. She like emotes the same way, and she aims for the same things.
Yeah,
which is great. Even when she goes nuts, she gets like the whole snake and apple through her horns and stuff. I'm like, oh, daddy's coming out. Watch out.
Yeah, and I'm so excited to see like her journey because I really do think Charlie is going to go on a really interesting journey as she becomes more of the princess of Helen. As it seems like everyone's kind of on board with the hotel now. Like going into season 2, I'm curious if like Lucifer's just there. If Cherry Bomb also seems like she's a part of our crew now, maybe. Yeah. Which is kind of exciting. Like extending that cast a little bit, more people in the hotel to follow. That seems very exciting. And like, just like Alistair's like investment in her, like in the 7th one, where they're like, oh yeah, we're like making her into like the Queen of Hell, that like we need her to be able to. What do you want from her exactly? Because in previously we're like Lilith is making him do all this stuff with her, and maybe that's still the case. Like maybe he still has to be there, but it feels like he's there because he needs to be there for her. It's like he's trying to mold her into somebody, and I'm so curious to see who that is and why.
I think it's interesting what you say about what does it mean to be the Queen of Hell, because basically, like, it's hell, right? There's going to be like an irreducible minimum that stay behind, right? There's going to be a whole bunch that just do not want to go to heaven.
Yeah.
So someone's going to have to stay behind, and that's probably going to be Charlie, who is also going to be trying to redeem new souls. So it's going to be a case of like having Arkham City mixed with like cut off from a hotel, and then you get a choice of, right, do you want a chance at redemption, or do you want to go into where Jet Li ended up in the one,
Yeah, I mean, and there's a part of me that I almost think we're going about this all wrong. Like, I don't, maybe this is something we go into in season 3 or 4, something where it's like, I don't think we should be trying to get people up to heaven. I think we should just be trying to fix hell. Like, I think we should be trying to make hell a better place to live. It's clearly the people in heaven don't want us here. I'm kind of nervous for Serpentius. Like, are they going to like accept him being up there? Are they going to be like, welcome, brother, you we love you? Or are they going to just kill him and send him back down here? Like, I'm so...
Well, it does, because, like, Luke was sitting there saying that it threatens the existence of heaven. But it does incredibly change the dogma that gets put around everywhere, right? That sinners go to hell and people that are righteous go to heaven, because what Sir Pentius's life is saying to us is that you can lead a life of sin, do what you want, and then as long as you're making amends in hell, then you'll get there eventually. Just do what you want until you get to that point. You'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, just like look at heaven as a whole. Like no one in heaven should, or I won't say no one, but like a lot of the characters we've seen shouldn't be there. Like they're clearly their hearts are full of hatred and sorrow and you know this idea that's been going around is like, what does it mean to be good or bad, and who chooses that? And
I think the show's trying to say that people are flawed.
Yeah, there's no black and white.
Yeah, and people were saying too, a lot of the angels in episode 6, when they were shown about their extermination, they were like shocked.
Yeah,
I think there's a fair amount that are good. It's just, it also proves that it's a flawed system getting into heaven and hell. And I bet if they try to kill Sir Pentius, he'll just come back in heaven again because he's supposed to be there. So they might actually attempt that, but it won't work because now he's there. That's where he's supposed to be.
I'm also just so curious if we're going to follow him as a character inside heaven.
Oh yeah, I feel like
if that's like an element that because that'd be fascinating to just kind of watch him.
Probably the season 2 premiere. We'll probably get some of that. We probably not as much cutting back to him, but I think we'll have to do some setup for him being in heaven so that when Charlie finds out that's where he is and he's not gone. I feel like that might be a mid-season reveal where she finally finds out. Like we know obviously, but they don't have a clue.
And that's going to be a game changer as well because they currently don't have any proof it's possible. They're just hoping. They're hoping that
he is the proof. You know?
Yeah, it goes from Angel being their poster child to Sir Pentius.
Sir Pentius, actually someone who made it there.
Yeah,
100%. Trying to think if there's anything else
there for their level of fame. I loved I loved the fight. I think the whole episode played really well. I was sitting there screaming with Alistair and Adam's fight like it was Thanos and Doctor Strange. And I was even more excited. I was like, oh my god, there's so much potential here, and they did really well. And then, like Chainsaw said, once Charlie cut loose, that was amazing.
Yeah,
I was there for all of that. And then Lucifer was just mind-blowing. He went from all seriousness because of conflict with his family to turning into snakes and donkeys and just flying around in the air, morphing into things and being silly, showing who he is, and then just completely kicking ass again, switching on a dime. It's like he was Two-Face. It was crazy. It was really, really good. I loved the whole thing.
No, 100%. It was I thought the fight, just all the fighting stuff was there. And I was also shocked to see that there's a human face to Adam. Like it's like a giant suit that they put on.
Okay, right. Interesting that you say that, right? Because I was as well. Okay, but when you watch the pilot, right, that is teased to us in straight away, right? Because when they show the angels, right, they show Loot and then they show her mask going in, right? And when the first time I watched it before watching this episode, I was like, oh, that's just an interesting choice of just showing the menace of the angels, you know, like a cool way to do it. But no, they were just genuinely showing how their masks worked as well as doing that. And then boom, later on was confirmed. It was great.
Yeah.
No way. These seeds were laying in the pilot.
Oh yeah, they did a lot that kind of pulled back to those first couple, kind of just brings things full circle for them. And we had talked about this weeks ago, but how they did the pilot was also just so beautiful. How you don't it is there if you want that extra context. You can also watch the first episode without having to do any of the pilot stuff, and it works so well. And it's not just remaking the pilot. It's no, it's a separate thing. You can have both, and they work with each other. So Lilith, as our kind of final thoughts, where do we think we're going to take her next season? Because obviously they're trying to get her help to take down Charlie or take out, make her stop or whatever she's doing. Do you think she's going to do it? Do you think she's going to still stay away? Where do we think we're going to take her next season?
I feel like she has to do something, but question is what? And I feel like you also need backstory. Why is her and Charlie no longer speaking?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we're gonna get a lot of that. Hopefully, at least.
Yeah, there's so much lore stuff I'm so excited to get. The stuff I thought we were maybe going to get this season that we're just like, nope, we're going to wait. We're going to make you wait like a year, or if not more, to get some of these answers. But, just kind of as we're, lots of stuff on my mind. What was everyone's thoughts on these final songs that we got in these last two?
I think the final song was a good way to kind of reprise a lot of the songs in different little ways, like lyrically, or just like, just in general, a good wrap up song with like also cutting to like Vox and then cutting to Alistair. I think it was very smart to do that. And then showing the rebuilding in a better hotel.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a full circle thing for the show.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the final sequence in Kanto where they're like rebuilding the house. They're all coming together with their songs.
Yeah.
It's funny. I defend the songs earlier. The fact that they were like in each episode, and I said if you think about Carmine and Vaggy's conversation, which burst into song, we've had that conversation in shows and movies and read it in books a million times over by this point.
Yeah.
So the fact that they choose to get exposition out through song, I am 100% down for, especially if they choose to do it in a really, really, really good way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they really killed how they did the song. I will say, good songs. I think episode 7 kind of had was like the weakest, when it comes to songs. Not bad in any way, but I do think it was slightly weakest. I also I think every song that has aired since Loser has come out has not done it a good service, because Loser still has not been topped. Like, it's like, these are good songs, but you're not beating Loser. Loser is like top tier. Like, it's been stuck in my head since it aired.
See, there's a song called Insane that's Alistair's song that I don't know if it's canon or not, but I love it.
Yeah, I know there's one that's been going around on TikTok like forever that hasn't appeared in any of the shows or like whatever. It's like, oh my god, like I've heard this for years now. This is where it came from. So yeah, good stuff.
I've lost count of the times that Poison and Loser and Insane and all of the others have been played on repeat over and over again.
Loser and Poison being in the same episode than Insane, because it's like almost back to back. It's like, these are brilliant. All right, we're kind of heading towards the end here. Do we have any final thoughts, theories, kind of going into the next season or kind of wrapping up this season?
Just that both shows are set up like in just the best way possible for going forward. Percy Jackson, they've given them the summer off. In the movies, they all stay in camp. So it's an interesting change to see how they spend the summer and how they come back to the story. I'm excited about that. Has-Been Hotel has everybody in a grip, just absolutely everybody, and they can go anywhere with it. To think that the creator was like 27 when she started this, and she's now 31, is mind-blowing. She has just knocked it out of the park. I'm just here for all of it, and I cannot be more excited.
Yep. Inside, do you have any final thoughts on these?
I want them tomorrow. The new seasons now.
Oh, yep.
Want it now.
That'd be great.
And if we don't get it, I'm rioting. So
I'm hoping Has-Been doesn't have as long of a break, but I'm hoping it's like maybe early 25 would be nice. Just kind of like
It'd be nice. It'd be nice.
Hopefully 25. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you everyone that was watching today. We had a Mr. Lance in the chat a little bit ago. Liam was here. Cody was here. Thank you everyone who tuned in. A big thank you to Darth and Chainsaw Reacts for being here. Always a pleasure. Where can people find you guys if they want to check out your content? Beyond.com. That's where you can find
Chainsaw Reacts everywhere. Council Creators every Wednesday.
Oh, every Wednesday. Go find them. Tomorrow? No, 2 days from now.
2 days. Don't jump the gun. Don't you do it.
I mean, here's the question: have you found your 69th guest yet?
I'll tell you off stream.
Oh,
Yeah.
fun. And Darth Bunyan, where can people find you?
Robert Blake, aka Darth Bunyan, or just type in Darth Bunyan lightsabers, and then I'll be there.
Ooh, fun stuff. And yeah, we're going to be taking a couple weeks off from the show. I think nothing else until like Avatar, so I think we're going to be taking a little bit of a break until that comes out. And yeah, if you guys, we've been posting all of our clips over on our second channel, just to kind of we just kind of put down the clips. I don't want to show the image because there might be spoilers for a certain show that Chainsaw's watching, so I won't show up that screenshot. But if you want to go check that out, link will be down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye bye.